For everyone who solves crime from their couch, knows more about forensics than their own job, and has trust issues with small-town sheriffs, Amazon Music's millions of podcast episodes are calling. Just download the Amazon Music app and start listening to your favorite true crime podcasts ad-free. Included with Prime.
Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome to this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oten. In this episode, I want to talk to you about your future self. And this is something that I have been working with my members who have been in what was the Self-Sourced Woman Clarity Circle. I've renamed it a couple of times because as I evolve with this work and evolve what it is that I'm teaching and where I'm taking women, I'm shifting and clarifying what I want to do as I go. And this is a way to model actually how it works in all areas of life. You don't need to know the whole vision for everything. You don't need to know how everything is going to roll out. You just take the courageous action before you're ready, or before it seems like a good time, or when you're not super clear on how it's going to go. So when it comes to business, this is how I created a multiple six-figure business, was through not huge thousands of students in my programs that were not getting any results because they wouldn't get any access to me anyways. I've certainly been in those kind of programs and they're great, and I've gotten results from them when you don't necessarily get hands-on coaching or support from the main facilitator of the group or the founder of the group. But I have wanted to create something where I actually remember the women I work with. Maybe not every single one, but if someone came up, messaged me and said, hey, I was in ETC in 2020 and this was my situation, and maybe I saw their face because they were on a coaching call, I would remember them. I get to know who is in my spaces very well because I don't have thousands of people I'm trying to figure out. I don't know that would be great for me, but when I see other people doing it, like I'm in a mentorship right now, that's how it is. It's thousands of people and you may or may not get your question answered, and it's like, who knows? But I'm getting a ton of value from the Telegram group that is learning how things are done and how she's doing it. And it's very inspiring, and it's learning from how other people's questions are being answered, and I'm getting nuggets and value from everything. So I joined more to get the inspiration and the value of being in her mentorship. And for me, when I see the thousands and thousands of people in a group and they're not going to get that hands-on support, yes, that is one way to do things, but that's not how I've ever done it. And that's not how I built my business. That's not how I get women the success that they get. Now, have women gone through my program when I have just offered it as a self-study, standalone some women don't want community. They don't want to be part of anything. They just want to study it on their own. And there are women like that. And then I get messages that it absolutely changed their life and they share their stories and all of that. The reason why I'm sharing this is for me and the type of person I am and the vision that I have for my life. My vision is not to run a huge team and have so many moving parts. I know that would be highly stressful for me. I need simplicity. I need smaller groups. That's why my groups are in pods. I don't want to have a huge group. It's why I do best with higher proximity spaces where they're a smaller group, but they go deeper with me. And so not knowing exactly how that looks, and as it's evolving, as I have changed and I have grown and I have done the work on myself, I have had mentorship, I have expanded, then now what it is that I'm doing is changing. And I wouldn't have known that starting in 2016 when I started my online business. I would not have known where this would have actually taken me when I closed my therapy practice down and just went online to coach. I didn't want to do the therapy thing anymore. I didn't know where that was going to lead me. Why I'm sharing this is you might be in a place right now where you aren't sure what step to take because you don't know where you're going to end up, or you have fear around what's going to happen, or what if it doesn't work out, or what if, like write down all of your what ifs. When I think back to 2016 version of me, I was scrappy. I was trying to figure this out with no money. I didn't have the money to be like throwing all over the place. I did hire a mentor with what money I did have, and I figured the rest out myself. So I was literally on YouTube figuring out how to start this very podcast in 2016. There was tears, there was frustration. It took me a long time. It was a brand new thing to me. I didn't know what podcasting was. I just knew I had a lot to say and that I wanted to do audio because I don't love video. I don't super love getting ready and getting on video. I do it, but I don't love it. So I prefer audio. So a lot of my programming is audio format, you will find. And so I just started. And how this pertains to the women in my world when they are in relationships that they are in limbo about. They're back and forth. Should I stay? Should I go? And there's lots of reasonings for this. A lot of times it is that invisible trauma attachment, and that is the reason why they can't see it clearly. So I help them see things more clearly, to detach, which is what I teach inside of my Feminine Power Pivot, inside of my program. And I'm giving you a taste of this over 3 days inside of the upcoming Own Your Feminine Power series. If you're not in there, make sure you head to the link in the show notes to get your spots. I'm going to be going into how that all works. But for them, when they come in, they're not like, oh, I'm not always. Sometimes they are, but they're typically not in there to leave. Some women do come to me when they're at that cusp of getting out, and that's what I do one-on-one work for. And they know that that's what they're doing and it's already been decided. But for the most part, women come in, they know there's something wrong. They basically have an idea that it's very unhealthy, but they have men that are kind of on and off again with changing. Some days it seems like they're getting better and then they're right back into the same cycles again. And so that's why I help them get that clarity first. And you can only get clarity from detachment, from drawing your energy back. And what I have them do when they are able to get into their bodies a little bit more and to see things more clearly and to pull away and detach from what's happening and just observe. And then I get them into a place where, oh, it actually feels safe for me to take this one step out of the exit planning module, even though I don't think I'm ready to make that step. And that feels really scary for me. I don't have any idea how I'm going to do that because right now that does not feel possible for me to actually take those steps to do that because this, that, and the other, the house, the business, the kids, the assets, the money, the everything, I'm going to have to pay him. That's very common for the women I work with because they're high level, high earning women, and they sometimes are the ones that have to pay their spouse because they're the higher income earner, which I always feel really kind of sick when I hear that because well, we know what these women have gone through and then they have to pay them to get out. But I digress. It's another side note. But when they start taking the steps for their future self before they're ready, they have a much better outcome. They don't need to know the how, the 10 steps, how this is all going to go, how he's going to respond, how everyone else is going to react, how this is going to go and that's going to go. Am I going to be alone forever? And all the things that we spin out on, right? We just take steps, even if we can't see where it's going to lead us. And a lot of us high achieving women, we want to know the steps and we want control. We want to know how it's all going to go. So when things feel out of control, that is very highly distressing for us. It's very stressful. And so we have to take the steps as we start to feel that inner safety. This is where we talk about the self-sourced woman. She creates that inner safety within herself. She's not needing it from other people, from men, from anything. She starts to create it within her own body, because when we are seeking it outside, we'll never feel good within ourselves, ever, because we can't count on other people to regulate our nervous system. Women are looking out externally to people to make them feel better. We have to take ownership over that. And so when women are working with me and they're taking those steps that I lay out in the exit plan, and they start taking those really scary first steps that feel like you're walking for the first time. You're like, oh, this is, wow, I'm actually doing this. When I think about in my life where there were times that I didn't even take the time to research or to get facts about things, that I did a disservice to myself. There's so many ways that I did that, where I gave away my financial power, where I wasn't fully informed about how the process all goes. And that's why I teach women to do that early. I want you being the detective, making the phone calls, taking the steps, doing the things in a certain way, so that when the time comes and you realize, which women do when they're doing the work, this does come, that you realized, I got to get out of here. And now what? And then they might leave on a whim without any strategy. And that's the worst thing you could do. I want women prepared. And so when women have been prepared and they've gone through that, then they have, maybe not perfect, because you can't control how the other people are going to react, right? But you can only control you. So when you have all your ducks in a row, you have it all lined up, you've done everything you possibly can to prepare yourself, and you're ready, the outcome is going to go more in your favor than when you're reactive and you're in your emotional triggered and reactivity state. If you're being triggered by trauma and all of these things, and you're going into this in a triggered state, it's going to be a lot worse for you, and there will be outcomes with your health and things like that that you won't foresee coming. So having the right mentorship space is helpful for that. I feel like what happens with women, and I can relate to this, is that we oftentimes can stay frozen in inaction because we don't know what the next step is. Like, quite simply, it's like if I was to say, okay, so here is the next phase of this. The next thing I want you to do, the way I want you to stretch. This is the boundary. So it might be, can you stop making yourself available to him? If it's women who have left and they're still communicating with their ex and kind of caught in that cycle still, even though they've left. So then the next boundary is, so here's what I want you to do next. How does that feel to you? And a lot of times these things are scary as hell. And that's why having someone on the other side to give you that high five and say you're doing the right thing, or give you just a few words of encouragement is a life force, right? It's like you might not be getting that anywhere else in your life. So having the right people around you is crucial when you're making this life change. And then the other piece to this is, as I've been saying, it's not just about the relationship. It's not just about leaving. It's about becoming the woman that would never fall into this type of dynamic again, because you've learned and you have become more discerning, and you know your value, and you know the things you will and will not settle for. You know the things you do and do not want. You have clarity. And so you're not going to just jump into something again and get married and have this intertwined relationship, because you have learned. And I really recommend that women with children, you're very, very, very cautious about how you blend lives with someone. And this is especially if you are the high earner and you have a high degree of income and you have assets and you have resources. My recommendation would be to not do it and practice living apart together. This is something that I have done with my guy for almost 4 years now. And I wouldn't have done it any other way, simply because, well, number one, I love my independence. Number two, not that you can't have that in a relationship, but I do love just living with my daughters right now, having that space. But also I did not want to blend. I didn't want to bring my daughters into a whole different family situation. I did not want to do that. I was very clear on that from the start. And that's what I recommend, honestly, for women. There might be some exceptions to that, but you would really have to be protecting yourself. I've just seen and heard women sharing stories of leaving one thing, got back in another, back in the same cycle of the same shit. Again, I don't want that for any of you. So this is why you do the work now for your future self. So back to the whole thing of the future self. The work you're doing now is for that future self version of you, that woman that is discerning, that has boundaries, that knows her worth. She's in her feminine power. She wants a masculine man. She wants a man that knows how to take care of himself, handles his own shit, isn't looking for a mommy. She knows what she wants and she's not afraid to require it. She's not going to settle. And you need to do the work on, because many women will say, I'm terrified of being in another thing, or what if I can't find anything better than I'm in? Oh my God, talk about scarcity thinking. If only women realized how scarce that mindset is of what if there's nothing better than this bullshit I'm dealing with right now? Wow, right? We really got to work on that if that's you. So when you are working on that version of you now, then you're going to make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation that you can't easily get out of. That's my new rule of thumb. And you create and this isn't about living a life that's in fear. I don't mean that, but women don't think enough about themselves. They don't think enough about themselves. They're too afraid of seeming like a gold digger, or like they're greedy, or they're just looking for a man for money or whatever, because they have requirements and they have expectations and they want to look out for themselves as well, because many women have not looked out for themselves and then they end up in bad situations. So you do this work now so that when that time comes and you are ready to put yourself out there, and you will be, unless you're one of those women in the trendy pods right now that are like, we hate men. I don't want anything to do with a man. I don't want a man in my space. I don't want a man breathing in my space. I don't want a man ever. And that's fine. But it's kind of sad that women, I do believe when it's a healthy union and there's value in that, and that we are meant to be in pairs, and living alone has benefits, but also we don't live as long when we live alone. So that would say, there's a Harvard study that talks about people that pair up, how much longer they live together. But the caveat to that is that it's a healthy relationship. I think the opposite is true. You will take years off your life staying in something that's stressing you the fuck out every day and throwing your hormones off and causing all the inflammation and all the stress. So depends on what you want. But if you're someone that is wanting to have something different in your life, and you would like to meet someone or have, experiences with new partners that you can explore and grow within, you've got to be that woman first, because a man that has something to offer as well, he's going to have standards. He's going to have things he's going to want. He's not going to want an emotionally reactive woman that's just flying off the handle and freaking out and blasting him out and nagging and all that stuff. So you have to learn how to be an emotionally regulated woman. That doesn't mean not having feelings or feeling your feelings. And that doesn't mean not sharing them, but it's how we do it. We have to learn this, and it feels really good when we learn this. And I'm going to be sharing more about how to use feminine communication and practice that. And the fact that when you start learning this, you will see who this person is. When you start learning new ways of communicating and being and containing yourself, which I'm going to talk about, the art of feminine self-containment, when you start learning that, the man reveals himself, who he is. Can he grow? Can he step more into that leadership when you pull back? Because that's what you've done, is you've taken over the masculine role because you're too much in that role. You will know. You will have crystal clear clarity when you start to do this work. Work on activating your future self now. Start stepping into that, even though you can't see where it's going to lead you. You don't know where it's going to go. You start acting as her now. And you start acting for that future self woman of who you are. So a small way to do this is something I think about now, is if sometimes I enjoy a glass of wine, like one glass, because since I've been perimenopausal, I can't, even one glass can sometimes throw me and cause this episode of inflammation, because I do have an autoimmune. So I'm very careful with what I put in my body in that regard. Not like super strict, to be honest, but I'm aware that alcohol is not good, right? Not healthy. But I know that if I have that second or third glass, I'm going to have the future self me is not going to feel good for a few days. So that means I'm not going to want to exercise. I might feel a little more sluggish, maybe a little more sad and down. And I'm not going to want to create content. I'm not going to feel up to doing much of anything because I had those extra drinks. So my future self says no to that, and I don't do it. When I'm coaching women and they're thinking about reaching out to this guy or meeting up with their ex or talking to their ex again and getting back into another conversation, then it's, well, what would your future self really be proud of you for? Is she going to be proud of you that you keep making yourself available to this shit? Or is she going to be proud of you that you stood and did the hard thing and had some self-value? You had some self-respect to say, you don't get access to me anymore. And we need to start stepping into and embodying that now if we want to create a different future. The problem we have and the mistakes we make is we act from the current circumstances. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm confused. Back and forth. This thing, that thing. We play this mental ping pong. We ruminate. We overthink instead of just, what do I want? What do I not want? And what do I need to do today to move toward that version of me? So maybe it's joining my upcoming series. This series is going to be 222 right after we finish this round. I'm not charging for this one, but to get the replays, you can purchase them for lifetime. The next round, it is not going to be free. And I'm doing it this time free because I want to test it out and get the feedback and see how this really lands for everybody before I put it into a course format. So if you want to be part of this, this is your opportunity. And the women that step into this and they invest and they come into my spaces or they get into one-on-one mentorship, they become someone totally different very quickly. It's profound to witness it. And the reason is that they have not had that level of mentorship before, for one thing. But a lot of times we stay pretty limited with our circle. And then we're only getting the same viewpoints from the same people. When what we really need to do is expand and find a message that really activates that sense of personal power and move toward that. If we get into too many mentorships, too many gurus, too many people teaching the same types of things, then we start to kind of feel lost and I just got to figure this out on my own in the end anyway, because this person's saying this and this one's saying that. Instead, find someone you really resonate with and you're like, I really like this. I like that, for me, maybe I'm not everyone's cup of tea because I'm kind of here and there. And I talk about, I want to do holistic health. I want to teach you about that. I want to teach you about feminine energy. I want to teach you about emotional attunement to yourself, embodiment. I want to teach you about wellness and health. And I can go into all of it, energetics, psychology, I have this mix. And so women will come in, let's say, that's why I was drawn to you, because I'm like that. I was the granola mom, that made my kids only got sugar-free cookie seed, oat seed cookies in their lunch kits when everyone else had the Twinkies and the crap in their lunch. And then my kids were always like, why can't we have that stuff? I'm like, because I'm not buying that stuff. So they were raised on health nut stuff. I was pretty into it. Women that are like me, then they're like, whatever it is you're doing, I'm coming because I want to learn from you. And those are the ones that get the profound results. But someone might not like that because they don't believe in all of that. That's, you've got to find what resonates for you. Like for me, the most recent mentor, I just fell upon her, but she started talking about all this stuff, feminine energetics and relationships and how they connect to business. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've been putting together, is the connection between that. And she was talking about some other things that really piqued my interest. I'm like, I really want to learn more from her. So let's do it. So go where you're led that feels like it's moving you toward the version of you that you want to become. So you can write this down somewhere. Who do I need to be today to step into that future version of this woman that I'm becoming? What actions can I take that are in alignment with that future self of me? And they're going to be different. They're going to be uncomfortable because they're going to be things maybe you have not done before. Give that a thought, give that a feeling, feel into it, replay this episode again a few more times. That is how we start to reprogram our shitty thinking loops, is by repeat listening to things that shift us into a new frequency, a new mindset. So me just saying you have to act in alignment with your future self now to do your future self a favor. What does that bring up for you? What are you thinking? What came up for you as, okay, that's my next step? What is it that came up for you? Just the first intuitive hit. What is that thing? And then you do it. And you see, okay, was that the right thing? What was the result of that? What did or didn't happen? And then you just keep doing that. That's how we create transformation. We don't create it by thinking. We don't create it by years of therapy. And we don't create it by sitting and waiting and thinking and hoping. It doesn't happen that way. We got to be an active participant in our lives if we want to live a full life. If you have something that you want to experience or do or be or have in your life, you can't just wait around for it to come. You have to be willing to take the actions every day. All right, so that's this episode. I hope you enjoyed this edition. And if you have not already, please leave me a 5-star rating and review if this show has helped you in any way. If you're on Spotify, you can do it within the app. If you're in iTunes, you might have to scroll down a little bit. It's in a different spot. But I really appreciate the reviews because it shows me that what I'm giving you is of value to you. And that's a way you can say thank you as well and give some of that reciprocity energy. All right, I'll talk to you in the next edition. Bye for now.